Hi, I'm Francesco and I publish interviews with people from the tech world, and I really like to do this. If this is the first time that you come to my channel, please subscribe, like the video and share it with the people you love. It really means the world to me. Thank you. Phillip Ninan is a senior software engineer with more than 8 years of experience, and his goal is to make you a stronger developer. I love this. In this episode, we've talked about how to get started being a content creator, mentorship, software as a service, and about this challenge on Twitter. Check it out. Today we have Phillip Ninan from New York, and we'll talk about his journey, his years of experience, AWS certification, Docker, 1 hour or 2 maximum Docker, and we'll talk about also SaaS products. We have a lot of things to talk about. How are you, Phillip?
I'm doing well. Just like to thank you for having me on your show. Been looking forward to this for a long time.
You had to let me relax just a week. Now I'm way more relaxed. Thank you for waiting. Now, yeah. So Phillip, let's start from your story. How did you become a developer? Yeah, from the beginning, and also why, for example, did you become a developer?
Yeah. So my story started in high school. Actually, I started a little company like fixing computers, and on the weekends I'd fix my neighbors' computers and get some money for the weekend to go hang out with friends. So that's when I knew like I wanted to get the computers. It's like computers are that, and from there I started studying computer science, and I really enjoyed problem solving and being able to write code. I mean, one of my favorite movies growing up was The Matrix, so that was also a kicker.
I watched some parts of Matrix like yesterday. Once you start, you need to watch them all on YouTube. I stayed like 2 hours watching some Matrix parts, so yeah.
And of course, you can't go to a terminal, without green out black.
Exactly.
But yeah, I started studying computer science, and I really loved it. I loved the code, and it took me on a great journey. And ever since then, I got my first internship when I was studying at Stony Brook University, and I've been at LBI Software ever since. I've been there for about 8 years. I'm currently a senior software engineer there. I'm a tech lead on some projects. I do like a lot of mentorship with juniors and interns, and I really try to facilitate growth and try to provide a platform for younger developers to blossom.
Yeah, and this is really interesting for me because you are doing this with a volleyball team, right?
Yep, we're doing volleyball right now. So our current project is working with a company called Athletes Unlimited, which is a really cool story on itself. We actually just started that project as soon as this pandemic hit. So as soon as COVID and everything shut down, we're like, wow, we have 6 months to program a brand new sports league.
I've been in the volleyball world for the most of my life, and I can say that, volleyball is really a sport when you really need a lot of data, statistics, analytics. At high levels, you need those. So this is really amazing what you're doing now. Yeah, this is, I want to switch roles because it could be really interesting to work in that field.
It's challenging. It's so fast paced. I mean, they're doing a couple of sports. We started with softball, and softball wasn't too bad, but volleyball, these sets go by so quickly that it's a big challenge to keep up with the scoring. And I mean, it's fun to work with sports and tech and just kind of bring everything together.
Yeah. Thank you, Phillip. I want to ask you, which are your favorite technologies? Because you have told me something, but which are your favorite technologies?
So I mean, my strong suit is Java. That's what I studied in school. So that's what I'm best at and probably most comfortable with. TypeScript has been a growing favorite of mine. A lot of side projects I start working on, I start with Node and Express. And I think that's a great way to start. Docker, I think we can both agree on that Docker is a great technology. And I have this analogy that Docker and the whole idea of containerization is the best thing to happen to programmers since IDEs. People used to program with, Notepad and just, they started with binary, but, once they started doing, a Notepad and just writing code and plain text, IDEs came out, and that was a game changer. I mean, that probably made a developer so much more efficient. And I feel like Docker has done like the same thing.
Yeah, and I really like this idea of simplifying things. Because I also remember that we had some pretty heavy IDE in the past I've used. I'm not telling names now, but in the past you had to choose between a very powerful but heavy IDE or just Notepad. I've done both the solutions, and I think that now we have the best solution in front of our eyes. So this is not a sponsored link, but I've seen also a lot of people that are just also they do tutorials now. They just use VSCode. There's also a very good Docker extension. It's a very cool project. Well done, Microsoft.
Yeah, recently I switched from Eclipse. I used to be a big Eclipse guy for all my coding, and I made the switch from my Java coding to switch to VS Code. And I haven't looked back. It's just so efficient and just works so well.
Yeah, and I think that for Java, it's one of the hardest switch from on VS Code. So if you have done that with Java, with JavaScript, it would be maybe easier than TypeScript.
It's so nice to have all your code in the same IDE. I think that kind of simplifies yourself, and you don't have to kind of spend time memorizing and figuring out which IDE you're in to use a different shortcut.
Yeah, thank you. So what are you currently working on? Because
so besides the AU project, Athletes Unlimited, we're getting that up and going. That starts in like 2 weeks. So that's been consuming most of my time, being able to score volleyball games and, produce their point system. But besides that, my wife is a math teacher. So she spends a lot of time tutoring students at her school. And so I thought that this was a great time to take advantage of, distance learning. And I started to create a platform for her to be able to utilize with the students that she teaches and tutored in her free time. There's a lot of products out there right now that students, things have changed since we've been in school, but essentially they take a photo of a math equation and it'll draw out the whole solution for them, which is great for the students. You get an instant gratification of how to solve a problem.
Not really great for my mom because she's a math teacher. So.
Oh, we have that common. But the problem with that is they don't learn. They'll describe a couple of steps, but a lot of those steps there's no description of like how they got there. So it's kind of a problem. They can kind of get through their homework and maybe get through some tests because a lot of these kids are learning from home. So they may kind of cheat a little bit and take some photos while they're doing a quiz or a test. But we're trying to put together a platform that would give them a private micro tutoring. I like to think of it. Essentially, they could ask a question, and we would be able to provide like a video response of how to answer that question. So that would be a step-by-step response of how to get from point A to point B. It's something that they could bookmark, they could share, and they can kind of go back to help review them. That would be like a better simulation of how students actually learn in the classroom. So that's pretty cool. I've been working on that for a couple of months now. It's still in the works.
Yeah, I'm looking forward, Philip, because we have met some weeks ago, I think, on Twitter. So not that long, but not yesterday. So can you talk about your social experience? About for example, Twitter mostly. So have you always been a social person or not?
I've kind of mostly kept to myself. I mean, I have Facebook, but I never really kind of put myself out there. I use that as a platform to communicate with my friends and my family. I've had my Twitter for years now, but I never really utilized it. So I took as a goal for the past year to kind of improve my technical writing skills. And I thought Twitter would be a great platform to kind of get some of my blog posts out there and get some feedback on some of the stuff I was writing about. And it just opened my eyes. In my experience, Twitter has been the best platform for developers. I've met so many great people that
Like
you know,
me, like me.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you can network across people across the globe, and it's beautiful. And everyone, like, you wouldn't even think that, we're in different countries right now. But yeah, I mean, you get to network with people that know what they're doing. You try to find mentors and people that can, help you on the right path and find a roadmap for where you want to be. It's been a great platform for me. I really enjoy it, and I'm just trying to improve my social presence right now. So it's definitely a learning curve. I've been learning a lot from a lot of different people I follow, including yourself.
Yeah. Please follow Philip, because he does. Yeah, because he really is doing a really great job. And also, I think that you are on a challenge, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about challenges, because I really love this topic.
Yeah. So I mean, you were actually an inspiration for the current challenge I'm working on. So I created this idea of creating 100 developer tips in 10 weeks. So previously I was putting out tips on there for like younger developers and even more experienced developers on how to be more efficient and how to write cleaner code. So I kind of took that as a goal to push myself. Can I put out 100 different developer tips in a short amount of time? And it's been challenging, but I think it's been a big motivator for me to be able to really analyze, the content I'm putting out and, make sure that, it's not just like, generic tips or anything. It's something that I literally tell my teammates, on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can say that. I really like this idea that you give a number for, because it's also for yourself. So this is also why I did this video challenge, because, and I think that at the end of this challenge you can, I don't know, take all these tips, maybe, I don't know, create a book, or at least a very long article.
That's one of my goals, actually, is to be able to write my own book and be able to kind of monetize on that. And I mean, the goal of that would be to help other developers out. When I first started, it was tough for me to find a mentor, like find someone that could help me figure out the path to take to become a better developer. So that's just the type of person I want to be.
Yeah, thank you. What about about content creation? Have you ever been a content creator? Is something new for you? Also, do you like to start making some videos? Are you waiting for the good chance? I wanted to ask you this.
I mean, it's going to be in the past year. One of my goals last year was just to kind of improve my technical writing skills. I think as a developer, you spend time writing up documentation and giving estimates and stuff. So that's just something I kind of wanted to improve. And so I started writing a couple of blog posts and kind of got my wheels spinning, and I started to really enjoy it. Like putting tutorials together and tips on how to write cleaner code, and it's really like addicting. You want to write quality content that people like actually can use. Like I've been writing articles that actually sometimes come up, and I will send to a teammate or someone on Twitter, and they'll thank me for it. And that's like, I don't know, vindication right there.
Yeah, and for example, I really like this that I got this switch of mindset, because I think that we can all be content creators. It's just about the mindset. You don't need to be a super expert about a topic. Of course, it's better maybe from your audience. You can say more things, but for example, I think that if you just start learning something. For example, now if I start learning something, I want to create some articles about that, because this is also useful for you. For example, this has been useful for me to write something about that.
It gives you a better understanding if you're able to kind of articulate what you're writing about.
Exactly. Exactly.
The first one's always the hardest. If I give a tip to someone that wants to blog and hasn't started yet, my advice would be like start with the first one. My first one was Hello World. That was the name of my post. I described, who I am and why I want to write. It was very short and sweet, and it got me over that hump of like hitting the post button and figuring out like, is this perfect? Are people gonna like this? Because once you get the first one over with, it gets easier.
Yeah, I really like this idea. To also present yourself to the audience. And maybe in the beginning you don't get a lot of traction, but after a while people start following you, they start sharing your articles, your tips. So you need to be patient. For example, I remember that when I started to to post some tips about Docker, I got some, like, I don't know, 3 likes, 5 likes, even if I had a lot of audience. And now I'm growing on that side. But yeah, if you do what you like, people will start following you. You also, I always, for example, recommend to post about something that you really like. Don't just write for the sake of writing an article, because if you focus on what you like, yeah, you will improve, because there are so many topics that we can't really write about them all. Yeah, so if you focus on something that you really need, yeah, my best suggestion is to start writing or making videos about something that you really like. Yeah, after a while.
It's definitely great advice. It's a mutual benefit there. It's a lot easier for you to write about something that you enjoy, and you can provide better information for your readers.
Yeah, and I have a question. Have you ever come back to one of your articles to read them again? Because, for example, this happened to me quite often. That you don't remember something, and you go back on this article and say, "Oh, this article is really great."
That's one of the best parts. Some of my first articles, I was doing like profiling for some of my projects I was working on at work. And they just serve as like great documentation for like anytime I need to profile an application to load test it or something like that. Just step-by-step directions and how to use JMeter or something along those lines. Which it's easy to set up, but then like once you haven't done it for a couple of months or something, it's like a new thing all over again.
And now let's talk about goals in 2021. So I keep saying which are your plans for this year, but we are already in February, almost in March, so we need to hurry up, because we're almost at the mid of this year. So which are your goals?
My goal for like social media and building my online presence was kind of a modest, get like 1,000 followers. I thought that I was at like 140 or something, I think, at the beginning of the year. So I thought that was, a pretty good goal to obtain. That's like the social side. I've been putting together a series of blog posts on solid programming. I don't know if you're familiar with the acronym, but I've been wanting to finish that series and possibly like make that into a book. I thought that would be a pretty cool idea.
Like this, I really like this idea to create a book. I think a book can really be a source of truth also for you to create some articles, something in the future. So I really like this idea. Best of luck with that. Yeah, and I think that writing a book it takes time, because I had here, for example, Florin Pop, also Adrian Tuareg, so people that who wrote a book, but it's a long process, so it's not that easy.
Yeah,
one of the hardest things.
Yeah, I figure if I have a decent following, I figure that would kind of help me like twofold. I'll be able to get some feedback on the series that I'm writing to kind of make some improvements to that, and hopefully if I ever publish a book that someone will buy it and read it or something.
Yeah. I also I'm forgetting. Also, I got Tom Hurst. Also, don't know if you know him. Who wrote a kind of successful book. Daniel Vassallo, who wrote a kind of successful book. Let's say that. Yeah. So, but sometimes, you really need to work on that every day. It depends, of course, on how long you want that, the price. It depends on a lot of things. But I like this idea.
Yeah. I enjoy the outdoors. I like to run. I jog a lot, and a non-developer type goal was to run like half a marathon this year. So I've been building up my strength to be able to accomplish that goal.
Yeah, I like this. For example, are you already writing this, or for example, you want to start after a while?
Yeah, so I have one of the posts published, and I have a couple in drafts. So I kind of drafted a couple of them because a lot of them kind of depend on the other ones. So I think within like the next month or two, I think I should have like the series complete.
Nice.
Yeah, I posted the first one on a single responsibility principle. I think I just posted this week.
I've written an article about the single principle, but I like, for example, I like this idea about principles. design patterns also. For example, I wrote some articles about design patterns in the past, but I need maybe to check them again. So thank you also for remembering this. Because I think that the concepts are more important than just I don't know, learn something that maybe you don't need. You can do maybe in different ways. The concepts are really important. So I really agree with you.
It takes time too, because I feel like I've learned these concepts a million times. I've studied them in school. I've read articles on them, and I feel like you really don't appreciate it quite as much until like you come across a problem where you can apply that. So, it is something, like you said, you may have to redo something that you wrote. It's a kind of thing you should kind of come back to, like on a regular basis, like any developer, to kind of come back to these design patterns and principles and, kind of reflect on how you could have used this, how you should use that. And, that just kind of improves yourself as a software engineer.
I also have a question, because I see that you like really principles, design patterns. So what about, for example, the 12 factors app? You have to write something about that. You should like them.
Oh, I like that a lot.
Let's say that 12 factors app are some 12 factors, of course. It's been written by, I can't remember the name, that was by Heroku, I think. It's a kind of old article. I'll send them in description. But there are principles about how you should basically create an application. And containerization really helps to.
Was that the principles for like building an API?
No, the 12 factors to create an application. 12 factors up. I can send. I'll put the link, but it's a kind of old stuff, but it's a good. It's a good.
I think I actually referenced that, and I wrote a blog post recently, and I'm actually writing a series on documenting how I'm building my SaaS product, and I do reference I think those principles in my first post in that series. So it's great to follow.
What can be useful for new developers to start with? Because, for example, I don't know if you are starting to get this message, but I got this message like, I don't know, hundreds of per week. So how can I get started doing something? From where I should start? So what advice can you give from your knowledge? Because you have solid knowledge about development. What would you say to them? How can I start? How can I start to be? I want. Let's pretend that I want to be a developer now, and I know absolutely nothing, which is kind of true.
So that's a great question. I've been asked that a few times, probably not as often as you. So my advice is I like to think of it as goal orientated. I feel like you have to ask yourself, what is your goal? What are you trying to get at programming? Because it's a very wide field. So, you can kind of, go a lot of different routes. You can, be a backend developer and be good at scripting or, design very fancy websites with great user experiences. So you kind of have to ask yourself, what do you want to do? Do you want to build a web application? Do you want to build a script? Do you want to build, highly available applications in the cloud? So I think once you can answer that question, you can kind of, orient your goals around that. So, if you want to build web applications, I would say, learn HTML, learn CSS, learn those basics. Depending on, I would go with Node. I think Node is a great platform to be able to start building like backend APIs, which is a basis for building web applications. So I feel like once you have that type of goal, it's like, okay, let me build a very basic app that does this. And then you can kind of learn, what does that entail? How do I build an API? How do I build a front end? What technologies should I use? And I think that kind of allows you to have a more granular control on what you should be learning to accomplish that goal. Otherwise, it is crazy. You can learn anything. You can learn NoSQL. You can learn SQL. You can learn Spring Boot. You can learn Maven. You can learn ORMs. It's very hard, and it can be confusing. So that'd be my advice.
Thank you, Philip. I also usually suggest think about your project, what you like, because there are so many technologies that you can't master them all. Maybe neither one. So if you think about goals and projects, then you choose your favorite technology, and you can spend, I think, some days, maybe not months, but some days, even a week, to choose maybe the technology that maybe could be the best for that project. And then, for example, I'd suggest to just stick on one technology for at least a while, and then you change. Maybe on the next project you can decide to use the same technology or switch, instead of just switching every 3 days like I did in the beginning.
Yeah, you won't learn. I mean, you'll learn little bits and pieces doing that. But yeah, I mean, you gotta kind of stick with it for a little while to get a really good understanding. And on top of that, like, that may be advice for someone that maybe doesn't have a job as a developer right now. If you do have a job, I would suggest, every year I do this exercise, and I figure out what I learned in the past year, and I figure out what wasn't I good at, or what do I want to improve on my day-to-day task, at my 9 to 5. When I first started, I wasn't very good at JavaScript. I had a strong background in Java, and JavaScript was just really tough for me. So I made it my goal for my second year as being a developer that I'm going to take on as many tasks for JavaScript at my job as I could. And at the end of the year, I felt very strong about my abilities as a JavaScript developer. I was happy with that. The following year, I said I want to get really good at writing database scripts and database relationships and being able to design relationships. So I took every single task that was involved with being able to write SQL. I did a lot of reporting, a lot of SSRS, and I wrote some very advanced queries. And at the end of the year, it really paid off because I feel like that type of experience really pays off. So do this type of exercise every year and try to evaluate what you have done and maybe what you can do to contribute in your current role.
Yeah, thank you, Philip. I also think that it's better, for example, to practice a little bit every day instead of just coding for 16 hours and then don't code for the rest of the week. Yeah, it's as you say, you say to exercise. So it's like exercising. It's like when you work out. You need to do that.
Exercise your fingers.
Yeah, of course. Remember also to take breaks. Of course, because they're useful. So for example, what do you think about taking breaks? Do you like to exercise a little bit when about your what about your habits?
So honestly, I feel like some of my habits are a little inconsistent. I have played around with the Pomodoro technique, where I would code for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break, get back to it for another 25 minutes, and after 5 repetitions of that, take an extended break, like 15 minutes. That actually works very well. If I got through like 5 or 6 of those in a day, which you wouldn't think would be a lot, but like 25 minutes of like undisturbed, concentrated work, you can get a lot of stuff done. So that's definitely a technique I would, advise for people to at least give a try and see if it works for them.
Yeah, it's useful.
It can be a little tricky sometimes because I feel like as developers, like sometimes we're like waiting on things. Sometimes you're waiting on a response from a team member, or you're waiting on someone to accomplish their task. So that's why I've kind of been a little inconsistent with that because it's not always a perfect world where you can work for 25 minutes straight without having to be distracted by messaging someone on Slack or doing something like that.
Twitter.
Yeah.
we can say that.
Social media can be a distractor. But yeah, to take breaks. I got glasses in the past couple of years just because my as developers we stay at the screen all day and can really take a toll on your eyes. So take frequent breaks just to look away. It's nice that we're working from home now, so I can take my dog for a walk or just walk around the house a little bit instead of just sitting at my desk in an office.
Yeah, and the good thing is that you can also think about bugs while you walk around.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, one of my best ways to think is when I go for a jog. I feel like it clears my head, and like sometimes I come up with the absolute best ideas, like on like a 3-mile jog. I can't wait to get back on my computer and try to fix something.
Yeah, for example, I got the idea of these interviews. I got another idea, which I reveal maybe today. I don't know when, or maybe I already told this. Yeah, so I think this can really be useful. And even if you don't get any idea, at least you have exercised a little bit. So that's great. That's very important because we need to last, for many years, not just one year or 2 years. So thank you, Philip. This has been a really very chilling conversation. Thank you also for your support. And I would like to leave you the opportunity to leave to say just something to end this conversation or interview. I don't know. I still don't know how to call them, but if you want just to say something, and then we can say goodbye. Thank you.
So any viewers out here, if you're young, you don't know what to do with your career advice. You don't have a roadmap. Look for a mentor. Look for someone that's doing what you want to do, and befriend them. Ask them for advice, and I feel like that can really help you grow. Message me on Twitter. You can DM me. You can follow me, and I can try to help you to the best of my ability. But I feel like that's a very important part that can be very tough for young developers. Honestly, find the best person in your office that does the best work, and get advice for them. Find the best people on Twitter, follow them, and talk to them. It's a constant battle of just improving yourself.
Yeah. So what are you waiting for? Follow him now, and then you can also send a message. Because he's very friendly, as you can see. Yeah, I think he will grow a lot, way more than 1,000. Yeah. After a while, I'll come back on this video and I'll comment how many followers he has. But first of all, let's reach 1,000, which is the hardest part, and then we'll see. So thank you again, Philip, to be my guest. I'm honored to have had you here. Yeah, so thank you so much, and best luck with your goals, your SaaS product, your social goals, content creation. So you have a lot of work to do.
Busy year. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate the time, and you're an inspiration to all of us that follow you and watch these videos.
Thank you so much, and now you are a part of this. So I'm really happy about that. Yeah. Thank you. Bye, Philip.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.